Greetings and welcome to another episode of Let's Play UFO Afterlight. Yeah, still a little bit recovering from cold. That's fine though. Let's continue on with the... we're getting now with the basics of this game. Alright, so we've talked about the people, we've put some people in university,
New training
polytechnics.
programs are available.
Thank you, Inge. Let's go over to something else, a little bit research. Now, I currently have...
Some of the scientists are unemployed. We could consider building a new lab.
Shut up. I can currently only have one research team active.
There are no projects assigned. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I don't think so, Fernando. But please, do keep quiet. I'm trying to explain something to the people behind the camera that you cannot see. Yes, this pestering keeps on going throughout the game, and sure, it gives you a means of actually acknowledging the fact that you need to do something. So let's actually put in something. So let's put in the military training, because that's sort of important. I want the military training, the medicine, survival methods, and, well, let's get the firearms in there as well. And then the combat explosives. Now this is all fine, this is basically, he does it all in, it's getting to in turn. I can give him some extra help to finish the research a little bit faster. Simple research doesn't require all that much. Once the project gets started, they will tell you how long they think it will take approximately. Though this is a complete guess on their part. But from the gauge they say from simple, probably not all that long, whereas difficult and complex scale up accordingly. Now, like I said, I only have one research complex at the moment.
Some of the scientists are unemployed. We could consider building a new lab.
Later. And I can give him a couple of extra people to help with the research. Now, it does say here, Ramirez's project. That is sort of important to keep an eye on. Not really. But certain things that you research will get named after the person that's doing the project. So in case you want a specific name for a gun or something, then be sure to put the person in charge that does it. Although, I do think that the person with the highest science rating always gets put in charge of the project. We'll get back to that later, because I want to have my scientists available at the moment. As you can see, all the people with some science skill are available for research. This may become handy later. Now, for the production.
There is no production running. If we are to achieve victory, we must manufacture weapons.
Victory against what? Currently we have a couple of rogue drones running around. Hardly a threat. But she is sort of right anyways. So let's get a project in there. Now, I want a couple of these guns.
More items by working simultaneously in different workshops.
Shut up. Not yet. Not just yet, because there's just not enough people. So I want some scientific lasers and plenty of battery cartridges that'll give me at least some basic stuff to work with. So I can only really make the scientific lasers. The scientific lasers are essentially, well, they're terrible. They're absolutely horrid to use as weapons. But essentially they're the only weapon we have. Now we do have the ancient earth weapon of the buzzsaw, which I am not entirely sure why you would bring that to Mars. Much like I didn't fully understand the reasoning before bringing a chainsaw to Mars in Doom. I mean, they make a joke of that in Doom 3, but it doesn't land all that well. Still, it's useful against demons, but here, not so much. I mean, as a weapon, the buzzsaw is sort of, kind of... It's pants, let's just put it that way. It's just a little bit too slow, and really only has a specific application that you really don't really use at any point. Now, as far as devices go, there's some things we might need. We'll need a couple of toolkits at the very least. And we'll need some suit repair sets. Again, this is a little bit more up to the player. If you're not all that worried about your suits rupturing or wanting to fix them during a mission, then you can probably leave that behind. However, toolkits are slightly more multi-purpose since you will get other stuff to work with. Mines, well in this case only a stack of dynamite. We'll also probably want a couple of these. They will be useful for blowing up stuff later. Now again, much with the research, the production works in much the same way. You get to see who is in charge, and again, the person with the highest level usually gets put in charge. Don't currently want to change all that. Then we have storage. Now, storage is essentially where you keep stuff.
Some of the weapons may be further refined. You'll find the necessary data when you click on the weapon in the Compose menu.
Thank you, Edgar. Not that surprising. There is essentially an unlimited amount of storage space, I think. Means I have not run into any problems with storage, much like in previous games. Now, what you can see here is of course the ancient Earth weapons that we brought along as well.
The constructed weapons may be modified or deconstructed later.
Yeah, well, not these weapons, because these are essentially unique. We can't use these much beyond what we have, since we only have limited ammunition for them. They may become useful later. At the moment we have 2 scientific lasers and a couple of batteries. As for alien weapons, we have some reticular laser pistols and a couple of reticular batteries. We can get more of those later, but that's not important right now. As for devices, we have 1 toolkit and we have no suit repair sets. We have also no dynamite. And as for special weapons, well, we have 1 silencer, 1 accelerator. The silencer, of course, does what you think it does, and the accelerator essentially increases the weapon's damage. Although that will become more important and appropriate once we start actually composing weapons, but I don't think we can do that. Let's see. Yeah. I can put a accelerator on this, but I don't really want to do that right now. Much rather save that for something a little bit more important. Now,
Some people.
let's go back here. Now, Wilhelm
You
will
must
start.
give some equipment to the team as well.
Yeah. So here's our basic strike squad, essentially. Our team of soldiers that will go out and do whatever it needs to be done. Now we don't really want to send them out naked, of course. So let's give them Thaddeus. He is not ready because he doesn't have any equipment. The fact that I remembered his name is already an indication how often I've used him. Alright, so his equipment is essentially, well, he's got nothing. These are designated medicine. He starts with medicine, so I usually pick him first as our healer. At the moment I don't have any healing weapons though, or healing stuff, because we simply not researched it. So he's not all that necessary. However, I do want to bring him along on missions just simply so he'll get some experience. He will, on missions you usually only get combat experience, however, unless he's actually doing something scientific. Some missions will give scientific experience if you bring people along, and they usually tell you if it does. As for weapons, I'll give him a laser and a battery. But that's not all. We'll also want... Let's see...
You must give some equipment to the team as well.
Shut up. I suppose I can also bring someone else with me. Yeah, you can probably fine. Now, we don't need all that many people on the early missions because frankly they're not that difficult. Right, but that basically covers the production and research. I can add more people to that later, but for the moment I want to make sure that I have people available in the scientific bay and the technical
Some
bay.
people may have more than one class.
Because these are the people you will send out to claim territory and upgrade buildings. Both of which are important, especially in the early stage, as you have almost nothing to work with. Which brings us to the overview. The overview essentially...
some raw material deposits that have still not been used.
Shut up. The overview gives us an idea of what we have to work with. Now in this case it shows us the territories that are currently under our control. Currently have an excavation in Cydonia that is technically not under our control because it's crawling with those bots. And we have a fuel mine on the acid plains that is not currently being utilized because we are not getting any fuel at all. We have limited amount of energy and we have a limited amount of water coming in. We produce 5 water per turn, well, per day, I suppose you would say. But we can currently only use 3 because we don't have any storage tanks. Similarly with energy, since we don't have any batteries. This is all technology that needs to be researched. But to give you an idea of why that is, the only water we currently get is through this canal, well, tube, from this pumping station at the North Pole. It's currently summer, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure how the Martian tilt works. I think it's fairly similar to Earth, although the Martian tilt is different. I just know that Martian here is about twice as long as an Earth here, so yeah, that's what we have to work with, although Mars does look very spectacular. Yeah, they really did get the features almost completely right. I mean, there is a slight amount of pinching near the poles, indicating that, well, limits of technology. South Pole's a little small, that'll change. But let's get over to the base facilities, where we can have Neil talk at us. Now, apologies. Ugh. So essentially we have our base here. Now, in the center here, that's the mausoleum, which sounds a little bit more dire than it actually is. This is essentially where about 10,000 or so humans are kept in cryosleep, just simply because we don't have the facilities at the base at the moment to house them. And before you all ask, no, I can't wake up any people from cryosleep to get them to work in our squads. Because, for one thing, the game will explain that it will simply take too long to wake them up, and that it's not really fair to ask people to fight for you if you do that. Some slight ethics problems. So only the crew that's currently awake can really do that, can do the work. Besides which, there's still the problem of not being able to support all that many people. Aside from just the people who are awake now and their kids. Here is our aqueduct ending. This is essentially where the water comes in and gets stored. Now, it doesn't really store all that much, as indicated. And this is our power, the solar power plant. Now, we don't get all that much power from it, but it will suffice for now. Here we have the residential sector, essentially where people live. We currently have room for all these people. And then we have several other stations over here, like for instance the Polytechnics building, the university, the hospital ward. We have the lab over here and the workshop over there. And then there's a couple of buildings on the outside, like the scientific bay, the civil engineering section, which is essentially where we build buildings, and the technical bay, where we have our other rover. Now, we may want to build some new buildings. We currently cannot afford to build anything, because we need chemicals, we need metals, and we need more energy. We don't have any of those. We can also build exterior buildings, once we have researched them, which is essentially these dome structures that we need to place on these empty places. Unless, of course, we want to build more technical base, but I don't think we can do that yet, at the very least, but we don't need to. It's these interior buildings that we need most right now. In fact, I usually want to build at least a hospital, extra hospital ward, if at all possible, simply because we will be getting people to lose. One other additional quirk that that irks me a little bit is in that we are indeed planning to terraform this place. And eventually we will see that. We will see the whole world burst out green and blue, like a second Earth. Except here. This place will always look the same. No encroaching vegetation, no water. Little disappointing, to say the least. And then finally there is the diplomacy screen. Now, Mary Osakwe is our diplomacy or communication officer, as it says. She will handle all of the translation and communication with either Earth or aliens. And before you ask, yeah, there are aliens we can talk to. Now, this shows us where Earth is and where Mars is. And this representation of Mars will actually change depending on the level of terraforming we have actually got accomplished. It may not match entirely with how the world, how the planet exactly looks, but it's a nice indication. Now, at the moment, the Earth-Mars distance is 299 million kilometers. That's not actually the farthest distance the Earth can be from Mars, and as the game plays, Earth actually is in the is catching up to Mars at the moment. So, as the distance becomes shorter, we may actually get some benefit from talking to Earth once we have re-established communications, because currently we do not have communications at all. We cannot talk to the Laputians. Right. Well, I think that pretty much covers the basics. And, like always, there is a decent glossary for everything we need to know.
There are new items in this section.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Now, for the most part, I will not be referring to this all that much, depending a little bit on what I need.
am sorry,
most
but
of
I
this
have not been supplied with more detailed records yet.
I didn't ask for
A new
it.
section is available.
Yeah, it would be nice if you actually highlighted that. Most of the time, I will actually be looking up what kind of training I wish to pursue, because there is a lot of it. And I do admire that a little bit. They've completely let go of the old role restrictions in the in UFO Aftershock and Aftermath. You essentially can build your characters any way you like. You'll still build them according to specific means, but you can have any configuration of squad you would like. If you want to have everyone walking around in heavy armor, you can do that. If you want everyone to be able to carry Gatling guns, you can do that. I wouldn't recommend it, because frankly that is a little bit boring and not the most optimal situation. But you can. Now, not all of the trainings that are available are listed here, because some of them will have to be researched. But if you want to know exactly what a training does, you can look it up here. Now, it is time to actually get going and doing some stuff. Now, any place that where you have a mission, I can't build, I believe, because essentially we have robots in the way. Any place that is empty, I can just claim for myself. Now, the symbols on the ground here, like this chemical mine, this slightly black beaker, is essentially showing me that it has one resource. Very small resource. Whereas, for instance, this yellowish fuel mine, or droplet, it shows me that this is actually a rich resource. Much like this metal mine. Now, I don't have to go completely claim the entire world immediately, because for one thing that doesn't work, because like with the energy and water, we currently have no way of holding all that raw resource, even if we do get it in. So, let's actually focus on what we need. What we need right now is fuel. But let's set up some people to work.
Some of the scientists are unemployed. We could consider building a new lab.
Alright, let's get you on this. Oh, actually, no, not you. Not you. You can go on this. Let's see. And for production, let's see. Your minor surveyor, you can stay outside. You can help with the construction though. And the rest can stay where they are at the moment. Yes, just basically one of each. I will have my squad available.
They have more than one class.
And before I end this, the more people you have in either the scientific bay or the technical bay will speed up the construction of buildings on the surface. Not at the moment, that is not really all that important because we are not A, moving all that far away, and B, needing all that much stuff. Well, I think we're just about ready to do some actual gameplay, but we will do so next time. Thank you for watching.